Good afternoon, everyone. I'm standing here back at the Billis Bridge, just outside Virginia, off the N3. I have a very interesting story to tell you. So let's put this area into context. Let me just show you around the area first, okay? So over there you can see my car and the Billis National School. And this is the famous Billis Bridge. Now, recently there's been some fantastic work done here by the Cavan County Council. They've basically, done some work here on the post box. They have done capping on the bridge, and they've done remedial works on this bridge. Now you can see the fantastic work they've done here. You can see all this new pointing and stuff, and I'm going to show you some before and after photographs so you can see this. But this is the Billis Bridge, and they've cleared all of that over there. So incredible work and new cappings down there. You can see that. So, but I'm here to tell you an incredible story. Thanks to Seamus O'Brien's there of Mountain Lodge and his brother-in-law Ollie. They have, when they were doing this works, when Seamus O'Brien's with Cavan County Council was doing this work, they discovered basically a cross in the wall. Can you see that cross? Now, let me tell you the story behind this incredible cross that you see here. Very small, only about 2 or 3 inches high. So let me take you back. It's the 6th of April 1898. And these lads decided to go into town. Terence Brady, Patrick Cooney, John Kyle and Patrick Brady. So you have to remember in 1891 this was a horse and cart days. So basically the lads went off on a hell of a session. They went into Bailieboro first. They were drinking porter and whiskey. Okay? So they were in Bailieboro and then they decided to come home. So they headed back towards Virginia. And in Virginia, basically the session continued on, pint after pint, whiskey, the full works, or the full metal jacket as we say. So then it was time to head home. So they're heading back over the Billis Bridge, over this very bridge. Remember, it's 1898, 115 years ago. They're on the horse and cart, and they're heading this direction, over this bridge. Now it's a Wednesday evening, the lads are heading back here, they're crossing this bridge in their horse and cart. I mean, basically, at the inquest they called it barbarous behaviour, but you have to realise that was the old English. So basically the lads were raucous, they were enjoying their day out on the beer, and they're heading back. And seemingly Terence Brady, he was carrying a half a bottle of whiskey with him on top of all the gargle he had in his system. So there was a little row between him and Patrick Cooney on the horse and cart about sharing this nagging of whiskey he had with him, you know. So they were quite boisterous. And be Jesus, as they came along here, wasn't basically the deceased Terence Brady and Patrick Cooney standing on the runner of the cart, and they were galloping along like hell. And suddenly, Terence Brady slipped off the cart just here on this bridge. Basically, he was lying on his back here on this bridge, blood coming out of his ears. He was unconscious. It was a Wednesday evening. Naturally, help started to arrive. But, the lads were still very drunk, and really they were in no fit state to help him. So luckily some neighbours came along, and he was basically brought back to one neighbour's house. And he was, unconscious at this stage. A doctor was called. Now, you have to imagine calling a doctor those days. It took hours to get a doctor. So basically, the poor guy was hours lying on the road, hours to get a doctor. But finally, he was back in someone's house, unconscious, in a coma, where he spent the night there. So basically, he wasn't moved to a hospital or anything like that right away. So You know, so this was a serious situation. The man is still alive. Now, I'm going to quote from a neighbour, James Monahan. I live in the townland of Dromala, about 100 perches from M. O'Donoghue's house where the deceased was lying. I have this day viewed a body and identified it as the deceased Terence Brady. He was about 40 years of age, unmarried, a labourer. I remember Wednesday last the 6th, on the day between 7 and 8 o'clock p.m. I was in my house after returning from work. My son James was also present. My daughter Margaret came and said that Terence Brady was nearly dead above in the road. I went out with my son and about 30 or 40 perches up the road met Reverend Mr. Shaw, minister of the Billis, accompanied by a boy. He said there was a man lying on the road and he appeared to be injured, that he was in a cart above the lane, that he brought him to Michael Dunho's home, and that the wife refused to admit him. He asked me if I would let him into my house, and I said I would. He was then brought into my house, and I put him to bed. Dr. Clark of Ballajamestuff arrived as he was being admitted and attended him. The deceased was unable to speak and appeared to be unconscious. I saw blood in his left ear. The doctor left and called the next day at 12 o'clock, where they arranged for a horse and cart to bring him to Bailieboro. Now you can imagine, there was this hospital in Bailieboro called the Infirmary. Yeah, Workhouse Infirmary. That took 4 hours from here to Bailieboro. What's that, a 15-minute trip at max in a car nowadays? 4 hours. But they had to trot at a gentle speed for obvious reasons. So the guy was still in a coma in the back of the cart. So that's incredible. One thing I found out, though, I looked up the coroner's report that Ollie sent me, Seamus's brother-in-law, and one thing, it did say that as that horse and cart was hurtling across this bridge, that Patrick Cooney was sort of grappling with Terence Brady over that bottle of whiskey Terence Brady had, the deceased. So there was always a question mark, did he push him off the cart? But no, I've got the coroner's report here. There was absolutely, they say that there was he wasn't pushed off, he slipped off. So the poor guy slipped off to his death on this bridge. I mean, it is shocking when you think of it, like, you know, you're lying on the road for hours, you're brought to a local house, a doctor takes hours to arrive. Then, you know, the next day you're moved to an infirmary where you die. I mean, it was not like phone an ambulance and, you know, the ambulance was there a few minutes later, like, you know. Granted, though, people say nowadays the ambulance wouldn't turn up either, but you know what I mean. It just took forever. So they did have a shed load of drink, you know, and it's a very sad story. Age 40, a labourer. And that cross on the bridge, you know, is really, a very sad story. I'm going to leave it off there now. I mean, it's a sad, tragic story, and some history is all I can say. Now, don't forget to subscribe, everybody, and I hope you like this video. I mean, I'll show you the cross here for one more time. There's the cross on the bridge. Incredible. Yeah, when you think of it, little did they know as they were hurtling across this bridge that Terence Brady, R.I.P., that he'd appear in a YouTube channel 115 years later. Yeah, very sad, and it's a sad story. So there you have it.